welcome to Main Street Matters by Heart on Main Street, the podcast that knows that the fourth quarter is the best quarter. That's where all the magic happens. I am your host, Patrick Kaiser. We're getting this out a little earlier in the week because, well, I've just missed y'all. It's been a couple weeks, 3 weeks maybe since our last episode, and I wanted to get out to be able to talk to you all about different things going on with Heart on Main Street. And we had a great webinar with Cruz of the Savvy Shopkeeper that I want to bring to you. So first things first, today is 4 weeks away from Giving Tuesday. If you are listening to this in the future, I paused there because it is also Election Day, but we're not going to be talking about that. 4 weeks from today is Giving Tuesday. That is December 3rd. Giving Tuesday is an international day of giving where people support their favorite charities. They're able to donate money. Really, a lot of charities and nonprofits rely on Giving Tuesday to be able to make their fundraising goals for the year. It is a day where people around the world give generously to nonprofits and charities, and really it's the best of humanity coming together and helping out others that are in need. This year, Heart on Main Street, we are raising money specifically for 3 different retailers that have been affected by natural disasters in this past year. So we are going to be raising money for the Asheville Tea Company in Asheville, North Carolina, for Brickwood Boutique in Temple, Texas, and for the Original Sand Dollar in Holmes Beach, Florida. Asheville Tea Company and the Original Sand Dollar were both affected by hurricanes within this past month, and the Brickwood Boutique was really lost their store to a tornado that happened around Memorial Day. So fantastic retailers that are in need. They are trying to rebuild their stores. They're trying to remain a part of their community, and we're going to be raising money to be able to help them get there. This year, we also have some matching partners, which is amazing. We have some partners that are going to be matching donations. So if you make a donation to Heart on Main Street, that is going to be amplified 10 times by these 10 companies that are helping us out, which is amazing. So $10 really becomes $110, which is fantastic. So we have 10 different companies that will be matching donations. We have the Bridgewater Candle Company, Fresh Scents by Willowbrook, Gans, Greenleaf Gifts, the Rep Group and Showroom Just Gotta Have It, Notes, Primitives by Kathy, Raz Imports, Tag, and Votivo will all be matching donations made. So up to a certain dollar amount, but really if you're making donations, consider it amplified over 10 times, which is amazing. We were so excited for this, really allowing us to maximize the efforts of donations and allowing us to grow the impact that we can make. If you're sitting out there and you would also like to make a matching pledge to Heart on Main Street, let us know. You can send me an email at contact@heartonmainstreet.org and offer to match donations made on Giving Tuesday up to whatever dollar amount you would like. It does not have to be the total amount. Several of these are $300 or $500 or even up to $1,500. It is truly your choice of what you would like to make as a matching contribution. So we are very excited about that, and we know that we're going to be able to do some great things for these 3 retailers. A couple weeks ago, we had a webinar with Cruz, the Savvy Shopkeeper, who has an amazing podcast. If you don't listen to that, which if you listen to ours, I'm sure you know about the Savvy Shopkeeper. It is an amazing podcast for retailers. And really, I have so much respect for Kathy. She is a retailer herself. She came from a different background, non-retail, non-business background, like so many of you, so many retailers, and really built a fantastic business for herself. She is all about numbers. She is all about DIY and kind of bootstrapping your business together to make it successful, which I think is so important. I love the companies that we have partnerships with in our Friends of Main Street network, and really helping out provide services, but in many ways, a lot of it you can do, and Kathy Cruz teaches you how to do that. In our webinar, she talked about how to do Facebook Live sales in order to really help clear out extra inventory, right? We are in fourth quarter. We are staring the end of the year in the face. As I mentioned before, nonprofits are trying to make their fundraising goals by the end of the year. Well, so are small businesses, right? So are independent retailers. They're trying to eke out every single dollar that they can in order to end the year really strong, go into those January markets, be able to buy new inventory, buy new things, and really begin the next year very, very strong. So Facebook Live is a really great way to do this. You're able to reach a gigantic audience. You're able to really get more of your inventory out your door than just relying on people walking through it. So Kathy talks about some best strategies in order to do Facebook Live sales and how to make the most out of that so you can clear out that extra inventory. You can get rid of your Thanksgiving and your Christmas and really start the year by maximizing every dollar, because at this point of the year, every dollar counts to end the year really strong. So it was a great conversation. I love Kathy. Again, I think she's just amazing. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to her and we can talk about how to maximize your sales in the fourth quarter by utilizing Facebook Live. As I mentioned, our guest today is Kathy Cruz, the Savvy Shopkeeper. Kathy, welcome.
Hi. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to dig in.
Yeah, thank you. So Kathy, if you don't know Kathy, she co-founded the Salvaged Boutique, a home decor boutique, in 2013 with her sister. The endeavor started as with a DIY blog, a few social media accounts, a little determination. It took Kathy and her sister 18 months of running their online business to realize that they wanted to do something more with it and open their brick and mortar location in Lakewood, Ohio. Kathy watched her passion grow from a fun blog and a hobby with her sister on the side of her full-time job to being a profitable brick and mortar home decor store. During this time, she saw the need for online resources where retail business owners could find community and education. She took it upon herself to create Savvy Shopkeeper, a podcast and service for micro independent retailers. So from full-time job to full-time entrepreneur, Kathy now helps hundreds of retailers work smarter, profit more, and grow. So, Kathy, I am incredibly excited to have you on today. I'm a big follower of the Savvy Shopkeeper podcast, and we've spoken on panels together, and I'm always in awe of what you're doing for the independent retail community. So thank you very much. So let's dive into today's topic. We're going to be looking at how to maximize sales with Facebook Live today. And I love this topic, especially as we're staring Q4 in the face and we're wondering about how are we going to get, we have full of inventory in our stores. How are we going to get it out relying just on foot traffic? And so Facebook Live sales being a great way of working with this and kind of in a DIY fashion too, which Kathy really specializes in. So, Kathy, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'm excited to learn more about really how we can maximize sales using Facebook Live.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Patrick. I really appreciate being here. And I was just telling Patrick before we started recording, I said, I'm really excited to dig into this because I genuinely think this presentation is going to set some of you up for success around generating revenue in Q4. And I told Patrick, if some of them make thousands of dollars off of this, I'll be really, really happy.
Yes.
So a little bit about me. I did own a brick and mortar store. I owned a retail business with my sister for 10 years. I just passed it off to her January 1st of this year, partly because this passion project, Savvy Shopkeeper, turned into a full-on business. So I started it as a blog to help other store owners, and I was only 4 years into my journey. But 4 years in, I felt the need to find a resource like this, and it really didn't exist. I was like, I just want a podcast to listen to or a blog to read. So I just took it upon myself to make the blog, and then I just went all in. I really educated myself about running a retail business because I wanted it to be profitable. I wanted to be able to pay myself. I wanted my sister to be able to pay herself and all the things. So I really dug in, and the blog turned into a podcast, turned into all these other things, a group membership. Now I travel to speak, which is where I met Patrick too, on the online space and at some of these conferences that we both attend. And it's just become so much more. I'm really, really passionate about it. You'll see it while I do this presentation. If you aren't familiar with the podcast, it's the Savvy Shopkeeper podcast. I have over 230 episodes. They're all free. I try to keep them at 20 minutes because I know you're all busy. Some of them will be longer, but I would say 90% of them are 20 minutes or less. So you can scan the QR code to subscribe or figure out where you want to subscribe. Some of you use Apple Podcast, Google, all the places. But you can scan that to listen, or you can just Google it. So thank you a lot, like really, for being here and for participating in this. Like I said, I'm excited because I think this can make some of you hundreds, even thousands of dollars. So here we go. The question I'm going to start off with is like, why Facebook Live? If there's TikTok, if there's Instagram, if there are all these things, why Facebook Live? Well, one thing I can say for sure is it works. It still works. A lot of people think that Facebook isn't a good social media platform anymore, but that isn't the case. And I have evidence of this at the end. So I want to make sure you're using it and not underutilizing it. So the first thing I would say is Facebook Live actually gives you a lot of opportunity. So it gives you an opportunity to sell more from your brick and mortar store. It gives you the opportunity to clear old stale merchandise. It gives you the opportunity to make space for new and fresh merchandise. And we all know how important that is, especially in brick and mortar, when your loyal customers come in all the time and they want to see something new. It gives you the opportunity to inject cash into your business. And the one thing I talk a lot about are financials and metrics and cash flow. So it's a good opportunity for that. And it's a great opportunity for you to connect and engage with your followers and your customers online. The one thing I hear often is, I wish I would get more engagement on social media. I want more engagement on social media. Well, this is a great way to do that. It's a great way to make money, and it's a great way to connect. And then one of my favorite things about this is that you can create a lot of FOMO, the fear of missing out, and scarcity on this. I had a recent conversation. She's actually watching right now, a recent conversation with someone who said, I like the idea that I can sell live on Facebook and create the FOMO and tell them there's only 3 items left. And I think part of it is, when we're doing that on social media or in email marketing, like for whatever reason, it doesn't feel authentic. And I think part of it is like when you're in front of the camera and you know that you're actually talking to your customers and you see them commenting and engaging, you realize that if you only have 3 items left of a particular product and you're saying only 3, it's real. It's like just having a conversation with a friend. Yeah. There's only 3 items left. So those are all reasons and the opportunities that I think Facebook Live gives you. So my question to you is like, are you ready to generate income? And that's the purpose of this presentation. So here are the stats, because again, I'm super data driven. I love the numbers. Every one of my group members that are on right now, they know that. I love the numbers. I love the data. I love the metrics. So I have a few to share with you, which I think are really, really important. So the first one is live commerce in the US is expected to triple its revenue from $17 billion in 2022. So if you think about it, that's post-ish pandemic, to $55 billion by 2026. I mean, that's a substantial increase. Jump. Yeah, after the pandemic. And I think a lot of people think that the Facebook Live selling was only effective during the pandemic, and that is not the case. The other thing
whet the appetite for it. You kind of recognize the potential of it, and people kept going back to it.
Yeah, and people are still enjoying it. So I think that's important. The next stat that I think is really interesting, so I'm going to give you a different stat for perspective. On average, independent retailers are converting a website visitor into a buyer. So they're getting an online order. It's like 1 in every 100 people, maybe 2 if you're good at e-commerce, and 3 if you're really good. That's 1 out of 100 people. This stat shows that you're going to convert the people who are watching your Facebook Live at 30%. That's more than a 10% increase from your online shop. And I am all about e-commerce, and I love omni-channel retail, and I think it's incredibly important, even with those lower conversion rates. But this gives you the ability to convert with those customers way more. And then the last one is live shopping helps build deeper customer connections, with 78% of businesses reporting improved engagement with customers. I can't say it enough, and I think it was maybe Seth Godin who said this, marketing guru. I think he said people buy from people. Hopefully I'm not misquoting. But I love that quote. When people see you on Facebook, it's the one thing I say too when I teach in person. I connect a lot more, even if it's here on a camera. I love being on Zoom teaching. I love being at conferences teaching. It just builds the trust with your people. So I can't stress that enough. Before we get started, I have a 2-page checklist. Before I teach this, it's important to know that there are lots of details and nuances when it comes to selling on Facebook Live. And I could probably spend 5 1-hour classes probably unpacking this way, way more. But I only have about 40 minutes. So I wanted to make sure that I gave you a helpful resource. It's a 2-page checklist, and it's puts everything in order of the next 10, 15 slides that I'm going to talk about. And that's important because I would rather you listen instead of feel like you have to take notes. We already have so much going on in our brains. So I want you to know that I have it all laid out in order. You don't have to worry about that. It isn't super detailed, but it's incredibly helpful. So just know that moving forward. And if you scan this, and I will share the QR code at the end so that you're thinking, okay, Kathy, I already missed the slide. I missed my opportunity. I'll share it again at the end. So the first thing you're going to want to consider, I call these starting considerations. You're going to want to consider, how will you invoice your customers as they comment on your selling event, and then you need to collect payment. So there is social selling software. I am not a social selling software expert. So know that there are options out there, meaning there are tools and apps that you can use as you're selling online, and they automatically invoice the customers based on the customer's interaction. So it does simplify it, it streamlines it, it makes it more efficient. I'm here to teach you the manual way. And there's a couple reasons why I do that. I teach it because once you have a system for it, it's easy. It's easier. It's going to feel a little bit heavy in terms of workload at the beginning, but once you get into the routine, it becomes easier. So if you systemize it, because I talk a lot about systems, if you systemize it, it is going to get easier. Selling software can be cost prohibitive for some retailers. So if you're generating less than $300,000 a year, or even under $200,000 a year, you may not want to invest in a software and pay $100 a month for that software, which I get. I had a store and I started, and we were a true micro retail store. So I want you to know that you don't have to pay for expensive software if you don't want to, but if you set up a system, it's going to be easy, and it's possible to make thousands of dollars off of Facebook Live selling. You're going to want to decide on frequency. So some of you might feel very comfortable going live weekly. Maybe it's like a Friday 5 feature. Every Friday at 10 a.m., you're going to go live and you're going to sell 5 items in your store. It gives you an opportunity to introduce new products to your customers. It's nice, short, and sweet. Or maybe you decide you're going to do this once a month with a collection of new products. Or maybe you're going to decide to do it twice a year and just do a massive clearance sale and get rid of all the old and dead stock. It doesn't matter what you choose. It's just, what are you comfortable with, or where do you want to start? And then you're going to want to decide on the number of items, which could also determine the amount of time that you spend. So if you're thinking, Kathy, I can't even imagine selling hundreds of items in one time in a 2-hour session, maybe you dip your toe in the water and sell 5 at a time, like the Friday 5 feature or something like that. I love that a Master Shopkeepers group member said, This is a good way to clear out stale merchandise and get a cash injection. We only do this once or twice per year. And now I'm laughing because this is my own quote. I said this years ago when we first tested Facebook Live. We chose to do only big clearance events using Facebook Live, and it was really, really effective. So, again, you don't have to do this all the time if you don't want to. So one of the first questions I tend to get is like, what equipment do you need? And you really don't need fancy equipment. It's probably things that you already have. So you want your cell phone. You're going to record from your cell phone, and I will cover this, but when you record from your cell phone, you actually want to record from the back. So the back would be facing me. That'll be an important tip moving forward. Otherwise, when you hold up your signs, the letters and the numbers are backwards. So you're going to hold, this is how you're going to record, is with your phone. Now, you don't have to have a tripod, although tripods are way more affordable than they used to be. Maybe you have a bookshelf in your store that's the perfect height for you to position. So you don't necessarily have to have, maybe you can stack some boxes up and then position the phone with a stand. You don't have to have all the fancy software. And a ring light only if you need additional light in your space while you're recording. And again, we're going to talk about practicing and testing. And then the other thing that I recommend is having a laptop or a tablet with you. And part of the reason is if you don't have your phone to see comments, how are you going to see customers' comments? Mostly for engaging. Because the invoicing will happen later on. But in terms of engagement, you'll be surprised at how many people will comment or say something or just comment about the item and not necessarily to purchase it. They might give you a compliment. They might ask a question about an upcoming event. You really don't know what's going to happen in terms of that dialogue. So you want to have another piece of equipment there so that you can see the comments. The next step I would say would be planning and marketing. So the typical things. Of course, you want to decide on a date and time. For us, we would do this when we were closed, which of course makes the most sense. We didn't have to worry about people walking in and out the door. We wouldn't be interrupted. It was just the two of us. We had everything laid out in our back studio. So decide on that first. And then you're going to want to do some other things. You'll want to decide on like terms and conditions. So when I say terms and conditions, it might be you will send an invoice and all the customers have to pay within 24 hours and pick up within 7 days. Or maybe you'll say loyalty program discounts don't apply. Anything like that that you want to make sure the customer knows. If it's a clearance sale, you can let them know that the discount, of course, is going to be automatically applied in the invoice. They won't have to worry about that, or they won't have to use a special code. You're going to want to make marketing graphics and maybe a flyer or flyers. So if you have good business neighbors and you want to share about the event, you can share the flyers with your business neighbors. You can post it in your store to let people know that it's coming up. And the one thing I do recommend for sure is to create a Facebook event. A Facebook event can gain a lot of traction between customer sharing, you sharing to your personal page, asking friends to share about the event. Facebook events can really grow in terms of number of people interested or following, or the number of people who say they're going, because every time a person hits interested, Facebook will show it to someone else and say, Kathy Cruz is interested in this event. This happens all the time with my friends in concerts. They'll mark something that they're interested in, and then I see that they're going. And then I message them and I'll say, well, I want to go to that. So just keep in mind that Facebook events are not dead. Definitely recommend it. And then you're going to want to plan for your email marketing. And I would recommend at a minimum 3 emails. So I would say an email to announce it, an email as a reminder a day or 2 before, and then an email day of. And maybe even a 4th email about an hour away or 30 minutes away to remind them, hey, we're going live at 8 p.m. This is a big blowout sale, 200 items. Get on your couch, get in your comfy pajamas, grab your favorite hot cocoa or beverage, and then get ready to shop. So something to remind them that you're about to go live, especially if you're going live for a long period of time. The next thing that you want to do is prep your inventory. So figure out what items are you going to sell. Now, if you're only doing a Friday 5, that's going to be really easy to manage, right? You can set them on your cash wrap, position your camera, record that in 15 or so minutes, maybe right before you open or right after you close, and call it a day. But if it's a big sale event and you have 200 plus items, which some of us do, I've done that, you definitely want to lay everything out. You want to figure out if it is a sale event, what's the discount? Does it change per item depending on what you're thinking? Or is it a flat discount on all items? You get to decide. And then you're going to want to number and price all the items. So that's the easiest way to do it, because as you go live and you hold up an item, you're going to say this is item number 121 and it's $5. So that they can comment and say sold, they give the item number, and then they give their email address so that you can invoice them. That's kind of how the whole process works. Now, the one tip that I would say, especially if you're having a big clearance sale and you have everything listed in your e-commerce website, I would say take all of those items and either hide them or figure out how to not have them appear on your website, especially if you have good website traffic and maybe you're getting 1 to 5 online orders a day. And some of you are going to be thinking, Kathy, I don't even get one a week. And I get that. But for some of you that have a little more traffic, you might want to hide the item so that no one buys it while you're in the middle of the sale. Just a tip. Especially if you're discounting them in your system and then it appears on sale on your website. Just a little recommendation, because you'll be surprised at how many people, especially once you start doing this and this is brand new to your followers, you'll be surprised at how many people will actually go visit your website, because now they're like, well, what else do they have? I want to see and I want to explore and I want to browse categories and products. So just make sure that your website is prepared for that. And then the one other big question I get is like, well, how many people do I need to do this? So of course, there's the smaller version of this. If it's just you and 5 to 10 items, easy, right? You really don't need any help. You can invoice after or the following morning. This is what happens when I talk too much. But I would say if you're doing something bigger, you definitely want to have some help. So for us, it was over 200 items, over 2 hours long, or approximately 2 hours long. And it was me and my sister, we'll call her the in-store helper. And then we also had someone at home, we had a friend at home managing the spreadsheet. So I like doing that because then at the end of the event, the spreadsheet is ready and I can easily invoice. But I also know of some store owners who do their whole event and then go through the comments and pull an invoice from the comments. But it was really nice knowing that at the end of the event, I could just immediately invoice. So we had a system for that. So maybe you have a sister, a sibling, a friend, a biz bestie, someone who's like, yeah, I can do that from home. That's easy. I create the spreadsheet in Google Sheets. That way I can share it. They don't even have to email it to me afterwards because we have it shared between the two of us. And then I have immediate access to it. It's really, really nice in terms of having it like systemized. But you could even just do it with the two of you. Now, this suggests like 3 people, but really one's from home managing the spreadsheet. The one thing I will say about the comments, as people comment, the one thing that I always say is, we take the first person we see in our feed, because you never really know what's happening or how Facebook is feeding that information to someone else. So someone might think that they commented first. But I think it's incredibly important when you're doing a long event to remind them maybe every 20 items. Hey, just so you know, it's how we see it in our feed. You may not see it the same way. And then, of course, the one thing I recommend is practicing. I'm really curious. I don't know what's going on in the chat box because I can't see it. But how many of you does this make you nervous? Are you thinking you're going to flub it all? You're going to mess up. You don't know if this is going to work. So the one thing that I think is really helpful is if you practice. So you could practice on your Facebook page. No one needs to know that you're on there practicing for this live event. You could just go on, test these things, your phone setup, making sure that your phone is on do not disturb. You for sure want to have that set
Mm.
on. Checking your audio, checking your lighting, clothing. I mention that because sometimes if you use a ring light and you've never used a ring light before, how does it reflect off of what you're wearing? So maybe you want to make sure that the lighting and the clothing you wear work well together. And then practice viewing comments. Maybe you want to have that tablet or that laptop open next to you. Can you put it on a stand so that you can read it, especially if it's only you, or if it's only two of you and that other person is helping you kind of manage all the products? Can you see the comments? If you use a little remote to press record to get the video going, you want to test that. So I think if you can test in your Facebook page, again, you don't even have to tell everyone that you're prepping for this event. Maybe you just go on to test it all and say, "Hey, we have an event coming up. We just want to let you know about it." That's a great way to practice. Another even better way to practice, if that makes you nervous, is are you part of a small Facebook group? Can you go live in the Facebook group and test it in the Facebook group? Kind of a place where you feel safe. Or can you create a Facebook group and just invite a few of your friends to test there? That for sure will help build the muscle and your confidence, and you don't feel like you're going into this completely as a newbie, trying to figure 100 parts and pieces out. And then that way, when you go to do it, you feel a little more comfortable.
Yeah, a couple comments there. George said basically exactly that. I have a private Facebook page, just my employees for practicing. Love that. It's something that you all can do. It's private, able to, yeah, get it all out, get the nerves out. Because I absolutely get that. When you were saying who is nervous, I was like, I'm going to raise my hand because I always nervous about going live.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, same. Like I'm a little nervous before I do this. I'm
yeah,
I'm definitely nervous before I go live on Facebook. And I went live pretty regularly. I was used to it. I speak in front of hundreds of people, and I still get nervous.
sure.
So
Yeah, right.
I get that.
And then Heather says she does lives all the time, but no one ever buys anything. So
Oh,
can maybe can have part of a Q&A or something about how do we make
okay.
sure we getting people there. Um,
Yeah. Okay. I'll come back to those, Heather. I'll come back to that for sure. Okay, so pre-event prep, some of the things that are important for doing this, again, if you're doing more, I would say more than like 10, 20, 30, up to hundreds of items. Having a sign, and I gave an example here, this is from one of our group members. What I really loved about this, it's sans serif, right? Patrick, that's the font without any fancy extras. It's pretty
yes.
bold, it's pretty basic. You don't want to use anything fancy in these fonts, and you want them to be big and bold. So remember, if your audience is a little bit older and wearing cheaters or readers or whatever you want to call them, keep that in mind. Plus, you don't know if they're on their phone or if they're in front of a laptop. You want the signs to be big and bold and easy to read. So I love this example from one of our group members. Also prepare talking points. So this was really interesting. The first time we did it, our at-home friend who was managing the spreadsheet for us, she was texting a couple times and saying, "I need Kathy to slow down. I need Kathy
Mm.
to slow down." Part of it was we had a big group watching and people were bidding or commenting sold a lot. So she needed to slow me down. So it's helpful if you have some talking points. So if you want to share about like a holiday open house coming up, some other promotion that you have planned, if you want to tell or get people to sign up for your email newsletter, like I just did an email boot camp in Master Shopkeepers, and we talked about how important email is and capturing those email subscribers. So maybe a couple times during your event, you're going to ask people to subscribe to your newsletter so they don't miss things like your Facebook Live events. Make sure you have those talking points ready so that you're not standing there going, I don't know what to say. Like you're just like, your mind is wandering and trying to figure that out. And the next one is the term signage. So, or the just instructions. Not only do I like seeing it, but so many of us are visual, and somebody might have their audio off. So, whatever, for a few minutes or for whatever reason. So, if you hold a sign up that says to purchase, comment, item number, sold, email address, they see it. It's incredibly important. I think the audio is important, but so is the visual. You could also have a sign that says, invoice must be paid in 24 hours, pick up in 7 days, no shipping available, whatever your terms are, you're going to put it. And then a few times throughout the event, you're just going to take a pause, gives you a chance to maybe take a drink, take a breath, and then hold the signs up so that people see, because people are going to come in and out of these events live. So if it's a 2-hour event, someone might get up and use the restroom, or somebody might come in because they just got home from work and they missed the first 45 minutes, but now they're participating. So go ahead and break it up and share those terms and instructions. And then, of course, after all of that, it's time to go live. Again, you're going to want to position the phone this way so it's facing, the back of the phone is facing you. You definitely want to put it on do not disturb, because if your phone rings, there's a chance that you might lose video and you have to start over again. Repeat the terms and instructions throughout, and then have that laptop or tablet so that you can see and engage with other people. I think that was the most fun part for me, was seeing the comments. It's the same thing when I teach live in a Zoom meeting. I love the engagement. I love the chats. I love breaking it up. It's one thing I'm like missing here is not seeing faces and not seeing the chat box, but Patrick said he would help me out with the chat box. But it's
they're
really
being a
fun.
quiet group. We're not getting too many chats. It's okay though.
They must be taking it all in. It is fun.
So. A lot of great content.
It's fun to engage with them, and you're going to get some of your regulars, and that'll calm you down too. You're like, oh, Sue, our number, top 3 customers, she's on, she knows us well. And then you're going to have someone else, and then you're going to have a friend that shows up. And oftentimes you can see who is actually watching, and that can help calm nerves, because it's a reminder to you that you're just talking to friends, right? Yeah. Or at least that's how I would view it.
So when I do lives, if I see a name that pops in, it just then becomes I'm talking to them, right? And I can have a conversation with them. I'm not, speaking out into the world and flubbing on my words.
Yeah.
I'm just I become a lot more comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like now all of a sudden you're not talking to a empty or what feels like this big open space of strangers. And you'll see that's exactly what I did at the beginning here. I actually went through and I saw Kate was here and Kirsten were here. And it's like a reminder to me, these are people I know. These are people I talk to all the time. They're probably laughing at me right now. It just kind of it does calm my nerves. So before someone in Master Shopkeepers hosted an event like this a few years ago, she was so concerned. She was so worried. And she said, what if no one watches? And I just chuckled, because she had a really loyal following and I knew it wasn't going to be a problem. So the next day was her Facebook Live event. And I think I hopped on a little bit late, maybe 15, 20 minutes late. I knew it would be a long one, and I hopped on to watch. And she had 101 people watching. Wow. Yeah. So for somebody to say, what if no one watches? Now, I want to add that I completely understand that some of you might have recently opened and you might only have 100, 200 followers. And I don't want to say that everyone should expect that, right? We have another group member who recently started building the Facebook Live selling muscle. And she said the first time she did it, no one watched. And she had to remind herself that the replay is available. Someone might buy on the replay. And now she's done this 3 or 4 times. And then the last time I was on and watching, of course I shopped. And I know she had more people watching. So it's something that you just kind of have to get used to and be prepared for. And maybe if you have 0 people watching, tell yourself, I'm speaking to Kate. I'm speaking to Kirsten. I'm speaking to Therese. That's who I'm talking to. Maybe you have a visual of your top 5 favorite customers in mind. And that way it's just kind of calms you and gets you moving forward instead of just wanting to end the live. Like, nobody's watching. I'm not selling anything. I'm done. So post event, one thing that I think is really helpful, and I'm going to share a visual of this next, is to sort the spreadsheet. So think about it. If you have 200, 300 items, and then you have variants of that item, different colors, different quantities, your spreadsheet can be really, really long. So what I find helpful is sorting it so that you group your customers by email address, and then you're only sending that customer one invoice. They'll appreciate it too, right? Like, they would be annoyed if you sent them 6 different invoices and they had to check out 6 different times. So you're going to want to sort the spreadsheet. You're going to want to invoice, of course. And this is one thing that was helpful when we had 200 plus items, is I would call out what was on the spreadsheet, and then my sister would bag and then label the bag so that when all these customers came to pick up, it was a big clear label on the bag of whose order it was. And then we put them in alphabetical order. So just keep those things in mind. I want to stress too that this is going to seem like a lot if you've never done it before. But like I said, we did this several times and it was worth it financially every time. And we got better at it each time. So this is my tip for sorting the spreadsheet. If you're like, Kathy, I don't really work in spreadsheets, just in case this visual is helpful. I just took the column where all the email addresses were listed and I right-clicked on it, and then you'll see that I can sort it by ascending, and that put it in alphabetical order. So you can see on this example that it started to group the customers who commented and wanted to buy multiple items. Just makes it easy for invoicing. So some results, because some of you are like, is this really worth it? Should I try this? And yeah, when you start, like Heather mentioned, maybe you're doing this and no one is buying, but hopefully you get to a point where your customers have they've built that trust with you and they feel like, yes, I can buy it. I know where to pick it up. I know how the invoicing works. So these are real results, and real results from store owners that I know. So a clearance event with a manual system like I've been teaching, selling 150 to 200 or so items can generate $1,500 in revenue. And I just want to remind you, if you're like, $1,500 isn't much, but when you're clearing dead and old stock, it's fantastic. $1,500 is a big deal.
That's
and then
floor
it just depends
space.
on,
That is just getting rid of the old stuff. That stuff that you couldn't even give away. Like, you're getting money off of it.
Yeah, and that's $1,500 for you to buy something fresh and new. So the picture here is a picture from my store. This was after our first event, and we were blown away. And we did all of the packaging and all of the invoices, and all of a sudden I turned around and I saw this sea of bags, and I thought, oh, thank goodness, all of this old stuff is going away. Thank goodness. Come pick it up, get it out of here. It's fantastic. Another example of a success story is full price selling. So we have one group member who sells once a month on a Facebook Live. She sells at full price. It's not even a clearance sale. It is just selling to her customers on Facebook. She usually features 30 to 50 items. And the one thing I love about her is that she incorporates some form of education. So she sells home decor and she stylizes 4 or 5 pieces of home decor together because customers can't visualize how to do this in their home. Now, if you own a home decor store, you know how to do this, or if you own a particular type of store, you know how to do these things, but our customers don't always know how to do these things. So it was a great opportunity for her to use that skill and talent to teach. And that can generate $600, $1,000 in revenue off of maybe an hour event. And then selling events with a comment selling software where you're not doing it manually. We have a group member who does this again in big volume, 300 plus items, and she has generated anywhere between $6,000 and $9,000 per sale event. I'm not saying that these are all me, right? These are other people and other store owners that I know, and store owners of varying sizes. When I say we were true micro retail business, we were not $1 million business. We weren't even a $500,000 business. So I don't want people thinking, well, of course, Kathy sold 200 items, but they had 5,000 followers and they were a big, big store. That wasn't the case. I just want to make sure that I stress that this is a variety of store types and sizes and revenue generators. So I just wanted to be able to share what's possible. And really, the purpose of this and the reason why Patrick asked me to do this is because we both want to set you up for success for the holiday season. And like I said at the beginning, I genuinely want all of you to generate more cash flow, more revenue. And if I can help you do that, great. So you might be wondering, well, how do I incorporate this into Facebook Live selling? So here are some holiday selling ideas. What I would recommend, I won't go through them one by one, take a screenshot. Take a screenshot of this slide and take a screenshot or take a picture with your phone of the next slide, because these are really fun ideas that you could do. If you're thinking, well, I'm not prepared to do a clearance event, or I won't do that until January, but I'm excited. Now I have a system. Now I have some clear instructions on how to do this. I would say these are some fun ideas for you to incorporate a version of some of those bigger events for the holiday season. So some of you are really, really stocked right now, and that's great. Maybe you want to do this after Small Business Saturday because you're thinking, well, I have all this stock for my, regular customers, and I want to make sure that I'm fully stocked at that time. So maybe you do this like the first week of December, really get the ball rolling and get that traffic. But I mean, if you wanted to do it next week, I don't see a problem with that either. Yeah. So these are the first 7 ideas, and then I'm going to move to the next slide so you can take a picture of that. And these are another 8 fun ideas. So go ahead and take a picture and take a screenshot. And if I need to bring it back up later, I can bring it back up. And some of these are really fun. I mean, you could really have fun with it. It also it might spark some other ideas, especially if you're doing certain promotions or doing, I love the stocking stuffer marathon is probably my favorite because so many of us are scrambling for stocking stuffers. So that could be a really fun one. And the one thing that I didn't mention is the idea of incorporating a giveaway. You're going to see that on the checklist. The idea of incorporating a giveaway, and I marked it as optional, but that can be really fun to get engagement, to get people about sharing the event. That could be fantastic. Now, the last thing that I want to mention are expectations and fears. Again, if you're worried about the audience size, some of you might be thinking, what if hundreds of people show up? Like, would that make you nervous versus what if no one shows up? Are you afraid of the comments? What are people going to say? Are you going to be able to respond to them? Are there viewers that won't know what to do? And then you're going to constantly have to tell them, comment this, say this, make sure you include the number. That's why help is important in terms of engaging and answering those questions. Are you worried that tech will be an issue? Are you worried that you just won't be able to manage it all? But I feel like with some of the steps and recommendations I gave you, you can feel a little more confident into this. So I just want to quote one of our group members who said, be yourself and have fun. You will mess up. I messed up. I mess up all the time. You will lose your train of thought. I lose my train of thought. Things may break. This is from a member who broke something while she was on live. Like, I think she dropped a vase or something. It's okay. Like, don't sweat it. The more you do it, the more you'll get comfortable with it. And I can't agree more. Sometimes it's just like ripping off that Band-Aid and just trying it, even if it's for a short selling event. So again, if you want to you're signing up for my email newsletter. I'm very transparent about that when you get my freebies. It's the 2-page checklist that kind of puts everything into order. So if I look at this, it's like pre-event prep, giveaway, time to go live, post-event tasks. It started with planning and marketing and inventory. It's nice and in order for our crazy brains because I know what it's like. Last thing I want to mention, if you want to follow and connect with me, my website, savvyshopkeeper.com. I would love to know any success stories. If you go ahead and do this in a few weeks and you have a great success
Yes.
story, or if you have any, if you fumble, if you have a funny story to share with me, I respond to all my emails. You can email me at Kathy@savvyshopkeeper.com and then follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Of course, I'm on both. Um, so do you have any questions? Or do you want me to show any slides again? Did anyone miss any slides? If not, I'm going to stop sharing and then that way I can see Patrick and we can chat.
Yeah, so we can some people, there was a comment in the Q&A about their chat not working. There is a message that possible that message related policies, you might have some restriction on your end of not allowing you to put in the chat. So the Q&A option is there. Did get a great question. How do we determine the clearance pricing to make a decent amount of money? So if you're wanting to do a clearance sale, how do we determine that clearance price?
Yeah. So normally for me, the clearance sale was determined by how old was the merchandise, how quickly do I want to get rid of it. So for us, normally if I was hosting a clearance sale, we would go big because we didn't do it often. So like that particular clearance sale where I showed a picture, it was 50% off.
Hmm.
So decide, what do you think your customers would like? Now, if you're doing a clearance sale and you put it at 10% off, most likely that's not might not be effective. I mean, I guess it depends on your audience. We all have different audiences and customers. But I would say if you're truly doing a clearance event, go big. And especially if it's really old, dead merchandise that you're just looking for the cash injection, don't be afraid to discount. But I would say anywhere between 30 and 50%, I think is a good sale point.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to make that big and enticing. Yeah, 10%, you get that for giving your email address away, right? So something that gets people enticed. Another question here coming in from Jessica. How do
Okay.
you handle people that comment sold and then when you invoice them have buyer's remorse and don't want it?
Yeah. So what we would say is we would say first person to comment gets invoice. If you don't pay within 24 hours, it goes to the next person. So you're hoping that there's a second person. And oftentimes there is a second person that wants it. Now that's up to you how you handle that. For me, it it was never really worth it for me to push that subject on, especially if it was a regular customer or a customer that I knew shopped with us, would possibly come back. You never know circumstances. I was probably more lenient when it came to that. You decide on what your what your policy is around that. But sometimes it can be hard to chase, especially if it's a sale event and the invoice is $14. Do I really want to give that much energy to collecting $14? So it just depends on customer, on price of the invoice. Is it really worth the energy to give to that? Hopefully another person commented and then you can invoice that person and let them know, hey, you got the item.
Heather asks, and this is a great one as well. How do I convert the looky-loos into purchasers? So you talked about 30% are going to buy something, 70% are watching you, which I think is great, and you're able to connect with them. But how do we get that up to a 40% or a 50% that are buying instead of just looky-loos?
Yeah, I mean, some of that's just going to happen again naturally over time where they get comfortable with the idea of commenting to buy. Some of them might not be comfortable. They're like, am I going to comment on the right thing? Am I going to
Mm.
they're going to be nervous if they've
Yeah.
never bought this way. There are some people who are very comfortable with comment selling. They do it all the time. They love to shop, but you're going to have those customers that just aren't comfortable. So I think that's what's important about the repetition and becoming consistent with it, because the more consistent, what do they say? It takes how many times? 7, 10 times
Yeah.
to put something in front of someone before they actually buy from you. If I think about it, I have people on my email newsletter list. They've been on my email newsletter list. They listen to the podcast for years who have never bought anything. So, that's okay. I'm going to keep showing up. I'm going to keep providing value and circling back to Heather's question about no one buying. Can you change your strategy is what I would say. Can you try a different product line or a different if you're not offering a discount, maybe it's maybe they're used to or accustomed to like that kind of discount clearance sale event online. I would say test is the best thing that you can do, because if it isn't, what you're doing now isn't working, I would say change it up and see if something else works. That's really, I said this to somebody earlier today, like that's entrepreneurship, is we're
Yep.
constantly testing.
And even those looky-loos, you are making a connection with them, and maybe not buying there, but now they know you, they feel more comfortable with you, they come into your store, able to have a conversation with you that might convert to a in-store purchase rather than an online purchase.
Yeah, it depends on the person. Some people go from being a cold audience member to a hot audience member and a customer like that. And for some people that takes time. And just like Patrick said, maybe you can get them on your email list or your SMS text messaging list. How can you warm them up a little bit more each time to the point that they're like, okay, or how can you get them to your website where you get them to a point that they're like, all right, I now I see something I want, I feel comfortable, I'm going to buy it.
And now they're active in chat and Q&A. So we got another one here. Kate's asking, is there a way to do a Facebook Live sale without having to show your face? Because we have that anxiety about putting ourselves on camera. And I totally get that, Kate. Is it effective to do that way?
I personally don't know of anyone that does that. It's worth trying. I am a firm believer of try it. Maybe there's a way that the camera is positioned kind of. What are those shots that people take? I'm drawing a blank right now where, they're taking a shot of their photo and it's like a flat lay.
The flat lay? Yeah.
Yeah. It just came to me.
Yeah.
A flat lay picture. Maybe it's that kind of selling. Try it. You might get customers to buy from it. I personally haven't seen it, but again, you don't know. Maybe your customers are like, I don't really need to see Heather. I just need to see what she's selling and I want to buy it. So I think it's worth exploring. And Heather, I think it was Heather was it Heather that asked that or someone else?
That was Kate that asked that question.
Kate, if you do it and it works, I really want you to send me an email. I want to know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, kind of, the flat lay and hands coming in. And I could see that being effective. Absolutely.
I could see that working.
Yeah.
Of
Kate
course,
says
like
she's definitely going to try.
Yeah. Okay, good. And I want to know if it works.
Heather asks, I've had this conversation with another boutique that people don't want other people to see what they are buying in our small town. So I don't know if that's necessarily a question, more of a comment. Or if you had a comment on that.
Yeah, she's saying that the other boutique doesn't want to see who's buying from them.
So yeah, maybe Heather can follow up and say, so other people of the community don't want people to see what they're buying.
Oh yeah, I think that was more probably a comment as a follow-up to our conversation about why maybe people aren't buying. That could be it. If you're comfortable, you could offer that they send you a direct message, but now you're getting flooded with direct messages. And do you want to do that? It's so much easier if people are commenting. But yeah, the small town dynamic can always be interesting. The other strategy then could be, instead of maybe a Facebook Live, could it be a post? And they direct message you if they don't want to comment on the post instead of doing a live. Could it be an email marketing sale where you send an email and it's 10 exclusive items at whatever percentage off? That for sure creates scarcity. First come, first serve. You hide them all in a particular collection or category on your website, and it's just whoever grabs it. And of course, as that item sells, it would be then sold out. Now you want to make sure your technology works there, that there aren't any glitches, that 3 people end up buying one product. But I feel like you can get creative with that. And Heather, you made me laugh. Heather said,
yeah, I know. We're not picking on you. We promise.
Oh no, I like to have fun. I might be picking on you.
Okay, well, Kathy is then. Alex asks, if you've gone through the whole assortment and it's not a huge number of items, would it make sense to run back through the unsold items again quickly before wrapping up?
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad idea at all. I think that's a great idea. Especially if you have a captive audience and if people showed up late, I think that's a
Yeah.
fantastic. I don't know why I didn't think of that before. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Just kind of like a quick rapid fire last chance. These are the last items that we have. It would be fun.
And I mean, to your comment about the FOMO that you talked early in the presentation, I think that does, when you see only 5 left on a social media post or an email, it's like, oh, I saw that, and maybe they're all gone by now. Now you can actually be like, hey, there were 5, we're 2, and we have a couple more of these left. Retouch back on that and really build that FOMO.
Yeah, I love it.
But did want, Kathy, thank you so much for being on today. This was amazing. I think there's a lot of great information here. The checklist document is fantastic for being able to plan out and really what do you need to do to get yourself ready. And the 15 ideas for Christmas, I took screenshots of those. I think that is amazing. So thank you very much for providing that for the audience.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Patrick, thank you for having me here. I can't say it enough. I really hope this brings in some revenue into your businesses. And if you have any fun stories to tell, send me an email at Kathy@SavvyShopkeeper.com. I'd love to hear from you.
All right, that was my webinar with Kathy Cruz, the Savvy Shopkeeper. Again, you can follow her at the Savvy Shopkeeper on social media. You can listen to her podcast, The Savvy Shopkeeper, and she also provided her email address in there if you would like to get in contact with her and learn more about running an independent retail business from someone who's been there, that has done that, has been through the trenches just like you. If you would like a visual of this, to look at the checklist that she talked about, to scan the QR code, to look at those 15 holiday event ideas, you can go and view this webinar through our website, www.heartonmainstreet.org. There you can find this webinar as well as every other webinar that we have done so far. I believe we're at about 25 different webinars. So you can find them all on heartonmainstreet.org. And then to close out today, remember that Giving Tuesday is on December 3rd this year. Think of us when you donate and donate generously. Take care, everybody. Have a great week. Stay safe, shop small, and I'll see you all next time. This episode was written, produced, researched, and edited by me, Patrick Kaiser, with a very, very special thanks to Kathy Cruz, the Savvy Shopkeeper. You can find out more information about Heart on Main Street by visiting heartonmainstreet.org. Bye.